Namaskar, brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen, students and scholars, teachers and trainers, those who are listening, watching YouTube channel 3M Creator. I welcome all respected doctors and directors, honorable ministers and managers, honorable advocates, retired administrative advisors. I welcome the most honorable President Prime Minister Modi ji, Dr. Rakesh from USA, heartily cordially welcome. It's really nice time, nice place, nice action today that we are describing our holy Indian cultural identities in the form of unity and diversity. Let us go through what is happening around the world, economically, politically, nationally, internationally. India Israel forge special strategic partnership. War to soon conclude free trade deal from Jerusalem. India and Israel on Thursday elevated their time-tested relationship to a special strategic partnership and agreed to soon form up a mutually beneficial free trade deal, even as Prime Minister Modi strongly backed the Gaza peace initiative, asserting that humanity must never become victim of conflict. Following talks between Modi and his Israeli counterpart Benjamin Netanyahu, the two sides inked a plethora of agreements to expand cooperation in areas of trade, agriculture, energy, cyberspace, and digital payment. India and Israel also vote to expand their already close defense partnership by working towards joint development and joint production of military hardware under the framework of the transfer of technologies. In his media statement, Modi said India's security interests is linked to peace and stability in the Middle East, adding that New Delhi fully supports the Gaza peace initiative. India's stance is clear: humanity must never become a victim of conflict. A path to peace has been created through the Gaza peace plan. India has fully supported these efforts, he said. In the future as well, we will continue dialogue and cooperation with all countries, he said. Modi Karni to chart roadmap for bilateral ties from New Delhi. India on Thursday said talks between PM Modi and his Canadian counterpart Mark Carney next week will provide a chance to advance a forward-looking partnership between the two nations. Carney will be on a 4-day visit to India from Friday. In his first trip to the country as PM, the visit is aimed at imparting a new momentum to bilateral ties. Shah is here to hit up Punjab poll pitch. Supreme Court bans NCRT Class 8 book for chapter on corruption in judiciary. From Delhi, the Supreme Court on Thursday imposed a complete blanket ban on any further publication, reprinting, or digital dissemination of NCRT's Class 8 social science book as it contained offering content on corruption in the judiciary, saying they fired a gunshot and the judiciary was bleeding. Observing that there appeared to be a deep-rooted conspiracy and a calculated move to undermine the institution and demean the dignity of the judiciary, the apex court directed that all copies of the books, physical and digital, currently in circulation be immediately seized and removed from public access without any delay. A bench headed by Chief Justice Suryakant issued show cause notices to the NCRT Director and the Secretary of the Department of School Education, asking them to explain why suitable action, including contempt, should not be initiated against those found responsible for introducing the offending chapter as an abundant prosecution, as an abundant precaution. A complete blanket ban is hereby imposed on any further publication, reprinting, or digital dissemination of the book titled Exploring Society, India and Beyond. The bench, which also comprised Justice Jayamala Bagchi and Vipul M. Pancholi. CBI raids Anil Ambani in second, Alcom Bob case from New Delhi. CBI conducted searches at the residence of industrialist Anil Ambani and offices of Reliance Communication after registering a second case against the company on the complaint given by Bank of Baroda, dated Feb 24, for offences of conspiracy, cheating under the IPC and criminal misconduct and abuse of official position under the Prevention of Corruption Act. The case had been filed against Anil Ambani, promoter and erstwhile chairman of Reliance Communicating and others, according to a statement, issued by the CBI. The allegation in the FIR are the Bank of Baroda had suffered a loss of more than rupees 2,220 crore due to the loan availed by Reliance Communication, which were allegedly diverted and misutilized by creating fictitious transactions with related parties. Gurdaspur encounter Kin Sikh autopsy by special board from Gurdaspur. The family of 19-year-old Ranjit Singh, who was shot dead in an alleged police encounter on Wednesday, has moved a court seeking the constitution of a special medical board to conduct a fresh post-mortem before they accept his body for the last rites. Madhya Pradesh Delhi police standoff over YC arrest drags on till drawn from Shimla. The dramatic standoff between Delhi police and Himachal Pradesh police over arrest of three youth Congress workers for the shirtless protest at Impact AI summit in Delhi dragged on till the early hours of Thursday. High Court stays release of Kerala story to criticizes CBFC from Kochi. In a setback for the market, for the makers of the Kerala story 2 goes beyond the Kerala High Court on Thursday state the release of the film, saying that prima facie there was a manifest non-application of mind to the requirements of law by the CBFC. Next victory will be on ground. Park will kneel Lieutenant General Katiyar. The strong Pathankot in a blunt and high voltage warning to Pakistan Western Army Commander Lieutenant General Manoj Katiyar on Thursday declared that while Indian Army had confined Operation Sindhu to precision strikes on terrorist campus and air bases, any future provocation would invite a far more Experts could respond, potentially extending to territorial action on the ground. High Court stays release of Kerala story to criticize CBFC. Sachin scripts history in Bokoshia. Sachin scripts history in Boxia. Man leaves for naturopathy course. Punjab to challenge Supreme Court order on TAT, says minister. The Haryana government plans development of residential, commercial and institutional areas by procurement of approximately 1.67 lakh acres land in 69 towns with the consent of landowners to the e-Bhumi portal. In the first phase, approximately 40,000 acres of land is being procured in 13 towns. Last date of scheme is April 30, 2026. The changing face of schooling. An insightful session on reimagining schooling for a digital society, organized by the Times of India in association with NISA, put the spotlight on the need for systematic reforms to ensure equitable and future-ready education for all. Education, often described as the backbone of a nation's progress, took center stage at a thought-provoking times conversation session titled Reimagining Schooling for a Digital Society, organized by the Times of India in association with the National Independent School Alliance. The discussion brought together education experts to deliberate on the rapidly changing school landscape in India, the growing role of technology and artificial intelligence in classrooms, and the evolving expectations from the country's schooling ecosystem. Dr. Kulbhushan Sharma, President NISA, shared key insights into the transformation and challenges facing self-financed private schools while underlining their central role in delivering quality education at scale. The session shed light on policy challenges, financial constraints, technological gaps, and the urgent need for systematic reforms to ensure equitable and future-ready education for all. The conversation explored multiple dimensions of the schooling landscape, including the importance of education and the need for inclusive institutions so that no child, regardless of background, is denied access to quality learning. Speakers also highlighted how self-financed institutions are advancing holistic education and contributing meaningfully to the vision of Visit India 2047 by nurturing well-rounded, future-ready learners. A key focus of the discussion was the implementation of the National Education Policy 2020, which many experts described as a potential game changer if executed effectively. Dr. Sharma noted that while the policy framework is progressive, the ground realities remain complex, especially for self-finance schools that have undergone significant transformation over the past decade but continue to face mounting challenges. According to records, 60% of total Indian students enroll in private schools. The study underlines the crucial role self-financed schools play in educating the majority of the country's children. Despite this, these institutions often struggle without adequate recognition or policy support, facing increasing regulatory pressures and financial instability, remarked Dr. Sharma. The experts also drew attention to the patent issue of delayed and non-payment of reimbursements under the Right to Education Act. Self-financed schools admit students under RTI provisions, but frequently do not receive timely reimbursements from the government. This creates immense financial strain, especially when it comes to paying teacher salaries and maintaining infrastructure. We have the right to education, but we should have the right to quality education. Without financial backing and policy support, maintaining quality becomes extremely difficult. Opinion Dr. Sharma said. On the integration of technology, artificial intelligence, and content creation labs, Dr. Sharma offered a realistic assessment of the sector's preparedness. He revealed that only about 15% of schools currently have advanced facilities such as AI labs and modern content creation spaces, while nearly 85% of students continue to study in institutions lacking such infrastructure. This imbalance needs to be looked upon. The growing digital divide within the education sector can have a changing impact, where innovation benefits a minority while the majority continues to navigate traditional systems with limited exposure to emerging tools. He observed. The discussion also examined broader systematic concerns, including syllabus reform and teacher recruitment policies. Just as an IAS officer cannot serve without clearing UPSC, and a doctor cannot practice without completing MBBS, teaching standards and also be streamlined and strengthened. Asserted Dr. Sharma, the session concluded with a clear message that education reform is not merely a policy discussion but a national priority. Shimla police retained Delhi Haryana cops over procedural concern. Nuclear posturing wouldn't help Pak in future, Lieutenant General Katia said. Father of arrested youth Ali Smith's framework. Motorcycle exports hit new post-COVID peak from Chennai. Calendar year 2025 provide a strong year for India-built motorcycle, with exports reaching their highest ever annual volume, up 27% from 20 to 24, 2024 shipments. Total motorcycle exports touched the fresh post-pending peak in 2025, rising to 4.3 million units, even as domestic volumes remained below their earlier heights. AI is like Y2K. Women will benefit. Indian CEOs Goyal says. No country has become developed by isolating itself. Nations that innovate, engage with the world, accept competition, and improve efficiency are the ones that rise to the top, says Commerce and Industry Ministry Piyush Goyal. Says it will unleash more opportunities, better profits from Mumbai. Seeking to address fears of job losses in the Indian IT sector due to the emergence of artificial intelligence, Commerce and Industry Minister Piyush Goyal had exuded confidence that the new technology would rather enhance opportunities for Indian enterprises. The nature of jobs will evolve, the ministry said, adding that he is not worried at all about the adverse impact of AI on jobs in the country. The minister compared the massive AI spending by global companies in the past 2 years with the Y2K boom at the beginning of the 20th century amid fears that computers will stop working due to the change of century in the year 2000, just like the Y2K moment where India got a lot of opportunity when they thought the sky is going to fall on heads, but after Jan 1 2000, we Indian IT never looked back. I see AI as a similar turning point. Well said, speaking at an award event organized by EY on Wednesday, the comments came on the heels of the II Impact Summit in New Delhi last week, as well as the growing concern about both the relevance of $31.5 billion Indian IT sector and the impact on the nearly 60 lakh jobs it supports. AI is a very powerful revolution for the better. Well said, adding, the more we engage with technology, the more we are going to need human skills and human talent. New opportunities will open up. AI will unleash more opportunities, better profits, and some significant and greater exports for India, which the 23 lakh science, engineering, technology, and mathematics graduates can leverage on. The Union Minister said it will help India better integrate with the world. He said, pointing out that it will be akin to the nine free trade agreements that the country has signed or announced in the recent past. These FTAs will help India go global, taking our merchandise, services, agricultural produce, fisheries, products, and labor intensive goods to markets that need them. They integrate us into global value chains, innovation networks, and talent mobility frameworks, he said. Gold's outlook stays positive in long term, says report from Mumbai. Gold's long term outlook remains bullish as global de-dollarization, fiscal stress, and increasing geopolitical tensions reshape the global financial order, according to Motilal Oswal Financial Services. Another 10.5k crore rupees on table by IKEA to boost stock count from Chennai. Investors of infrastructure get return of 5,565 crore rupees in Q3. Motorcycle exports hit new post-COVID peak from Chennai. Hacker uses cloud to steal Mexican data. Iran University suspends three students for burning flag from Tehran. HK Mogul Jimmy Ray wins appeal in fraud case from Hong Kong. CI launches fresh social media push to include Iranian as Trump threatens military action. The message is latest in a series by the CIA aimed at enlisting sources in Iran, China, North Korea, and Russia from Washington. The Central Intelligence Agency has posted on social media new RC language instructions for Iranian wishing to securely contact the spy service. The CIA recruitment effort comes amid a massive buildup of US military forces in the Middle East that President Donald Trump could order to attack Iran if talks with the US set for Thursday failed to reach a deal on Tehran's nuclear program. Bombs hit during unrest. Two Nepal experience to escape calls. Russia launched a major aerial attack before Kiev's talks with US from Kiev. Hegseth issues ultimatum to Anthropic to let military use CEO's AI tech as it sees fit from Washington. US Iran talks in Geneva as Trump deploys warships and aircraft to the Middle East. US demands that Iran stop enriching uranium. Iran and United States are talking in Geneva for a third time on Thursday as President Donald Trump seeks to delay Tehran's nuclear program while threatening it by deploying a massive number of aircraft and warships to the Middle East. US Special Mid East Envoy Steve Witkoff, a billionaire real estate developer and friend of Trump, will meet with Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Argachani in an effort to convince his country to halt its enrichment of uranium, a key step to building a nuclear bomb, and curtail or stop its production of long-range missiles. Iran has maintained that it will continue to enrich uranium even as its program sites in June, following a US attack in June on three of its nuclear sites. When American attack happened, Iran had said all US military bases in the Middle East will consider legitimate targets and has also threatened to attack Israel. The latest round of negotiations is the third since Israel's 12-day war with Iran last year, and their failure could again in lead to regional war across the Middle East. Here is the latest. Iran's foreign minister says delegates from the country and the United States have exchanged very constructive proposals so far in their third round of nuclear talks in Geneva. Talks have briefly paused and are set to continue around 16:30 GMT Thursday as both delegations needed to hold consultations with their respective capitals. The ministry's spokesperson emailed Bagay added. He said they discussed proposals regarding Iran's nuclear program and sanctions relief but did not provide details. Tehran and Washington's indirect talks in the Swiss city included Oman's foreign minister and the head of the International Atomic Agency, the United Nations Nuclear Watchdog. It is seen as a last chance for diplomacy. The US has gathered a fleet of aircraft and warships to the Middle East to pressure Tehran into a deal. Oman's foreign minister Badr al-Basudi, who has been meditating the negotiations, said the two sides have been exchanging creative and positive ideas and will resume talks after a break. AI Bushadi said he is hopeful that more progress can be made later Thursday when negotiations resume. Convoys believed to be holding the Iranian and US delegation left the Omani residents in the Geneva after several hours of indirect negotiations starting Thursday on morning. A convoy believed to be carrying US diplomats left on Omani diplomatic residence in Geneva that was hosting indirect talks with Iran over its nuclear program. Iranian state television reported Thursday that indirect talks with the United States will resume later in the body after both sides take a break. It wasn't clear what the reason for the break was. The two sides had been having indirect talks for hours, mediated by Oman. Both the Iranian and the American delegation had been at the residence for hours. A prominent advisor to Iran's supreme leader had suggested that Iran could reach an immediate agreement in talks with the US if they focused solely Iran's commitment not to develop nuclear weapons. If the main issue of the negotiations is Iran's non-development of nuclear weapons, this is consistent with the Supreme Leader's fatwa, religious declaration, and Iran's defense doctrine, and an immediate agreement is within reach. Ali Shamkhani wrote on X on Thursday. He added that Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi had sufficient support and authority to come to a final agreement in the talks. Iran promises flexibility at nuclear talks amid threat of US strikes. Iran plans to show flexibility at indirect talks with the United States on their long-standing nuclear dispute on Thursday, with Tehran under pressure to agree to a deal of peace US military strikes. Manas Khand Circuit, Cavanon, the spiritual trail. The Manas Khand Circuit is the revival of faith, tradition, and architectural splendor under the eternal charm of the Himalayas. A spiritual voyage. The Manakhand circuit is more than a collection of temples. It revives forgotten traditions, architectural brilliance, and blends spirituality with cultural pride. For pilgrims, it becomes a journey of faith. For travelers, an immersion into history and nature. By developing temple clusters into a unified circuit, the mission envisions experiences comparable to the Chandham while retaining human identity. Yoga enthusiasts meet in Rishikesh. Rishikesh is all set to welcome yoga enthusiasts from around the world as the International Yoga Festival 2026 promises a week dedicated to holistic wellness and mindful living. Homestays general employment not only for home owners but also for local youth engaged and guides, drivers, cooks, and cultural performers. They promote the consumption of local produce, traditional cuisine, and handicrafts, thereby strengthening village level microeconomy. Adventure tourism paradise from snow-covered slopes to rushing rivers and soaring skies, Uttarakhand is redefining adventure tourism in India with experiencing that thrill, challenge, and inspire. Uttarakhand is fast emerging as one of India's most exciting adventure tourism destinations, attracting thrill seekers, nature lovers, and sports enthusiasts throughout the year. With its snow-covered peaks, powerful rivers, alpine meadows, and scenic valleys, the state offers a natural setting perfectly suited for high adrenaline experiences and outdoor exploration. Uttarakhand's tourism story is being rewritten with innovation, inclusivity, and sustainability at its heart, from enhanced connectivity and immersive adventure experiences to cultural celebration and community-led homestay. We are committed to showcasing the best of Devbhoomi to the world. Festivals fueling adventure tourism, thrill activities across the state. Beyond festivals, Uttarakhand offers adventure experiences throughout the year. Homestay, homestays fuel rural tourism growth across the hills of Uttarakhand. Homestays are transforming village homes into gateways of opportunity, strengthening both tourism and rural livelihoods. A message from Pushkar Singh Dhami, Chief Minister of Uttarakhand. Our vision is to make Uttarakhand a year-round global tourism destination by strengthening connectivity, promoting adventure and spiritual circuits, and empowering our villages through initiatives like homestay, every road, railways, ropeway, and policy reform is aimed at creating sustainable livelihoods with preserving the cultural and natural heritage of Devbhoomi. Tourism is not just an industry for us, it is a key pillar of economic growth and inclusive development for the people of the state. Uttarakhand rising to boost tourism infra stronger economy. Under the able leadership of PM Narendra Modi and the guidance of CM Pushkar Singh Dhami, Uttarakhand is entering a new phase of growth where stronger connectivity across air, rail, and road is opening the doors to its hills, temples, and towns like never before. Uttarakhand is steadily transforming its tourism landscape through a, through a series of ambitious connectivity projects, from ropeways in the high Himalayas to expressways, rail corridors, and expanded air services. The state is investing infrastructure that makes travel faster, safer, and more convenient. These projects are not only easing pilgrimages and holidays but are also strengthening the local economy by increasing tourist foothill across season. Roadway, roadways making pilgrimage easier. One of the most significant developments is the Kedarnath Ropeway project, which aims to connect Sanpriyag to Kadamat. Once completed, the ropeway will drastically reduce time to the shrine, offering a safer and more comfortable alternative to the long trek. Similarly, the Hemkund Sahib ropeway project is expected to transform access to the high altitude Sikh pilgrimage site. The ropeway will make the journey smoother, particularly for elderly devotees and families closer to the Dehradun. The Dehradun Mussoorie ropeway project is set to significantly cut travel time between the two destinations while reducing traffic congestion on the existing hill road. This project is expected to enhance Mussourie's appeal as a quick weekend gateway. Rail connectivity reaching the hills, faster trains connecting major cities, stronger roads for all weather travel, a new era for tourism. Together, these projects reflect a coordinated effort to modernize Uttarakhand's transport network, improve connectivity. It's not making travel easier, but is also supporting local businesses, creating employment opportunities, and extending the tourism session beyond traditional peaks with better roads, railways, ropeways, and air services. Uttarakhand is positioning itself as a more accessible and sustainable destination, allowing visitors to experience its natural beauty and spiritual heritage with greater comfort and safety. Expanding air connectivity across the state under the Udan Yojana, helicopter services have enhanced connectivity to various hill destinations, especially during pilgrimage seasons. These services reduce long travel hours and provide scenic aerial access to remote regions. Meanwhile, Dehradun's Jolly Grant Airport is undergoing expansion with plans to develop it into an international airport in the future. This move is expected to attract more domestic and international tourists, strengthening Uttarakhand's position as a global travel destination. A message from our President Traditional Modi ji. Uttarakhand possesses a natural spiritual strength that sets it apart, and the devotion, heritage, and purity of this Devbhumi give it an identity unmatched anywhere else. The state is entering a phase of remarkable possibilities and with firm resolve. It can establish itself as one of the world's leading centers of spirituality. Along with this spiritual potential, Uttarakhand is also emerging as a beautiful wedding destination. To benefit from the Wed in India vision, the state can develop select locations equipped with world-class facilities, allowing people from across the country to celebrate their special occasions in the serene and divine environment of Uttarakhand. Faith meets adventure. Adi Kailash rises as faith and endurance hub after Prime Minister's visit. Prime Minister Modi visited the Adi Kailash region and offered prayers at this revered site. Adi Kailash is often described as the sacred twin of Kailash Mansarovar. At its base lies the tranquil Parvati Kund, a site of immense spiritual significance in Hindu mythology. These high altitude destinations are now emerging as must visit landmarks, drawing not only pilgrims seeking blessings but also adventure and nature enthusiasts. Adi Kailash and Parvati Kund are poised to become icons of sustainable tourism where culture and ecology come together in harmony, improved road connectivity and homestays in villages like Banjir, Nabi and Kuti have opened the regions to wider audiences with growing interest. Devi is reimagining the area as not just a site of devotion but also a hub for wellness, adventure, and immersive cultural experiences. Beyond the dance, nature, and devotion during the Yatra pilgrimage often explore nearby destinations that enhance both spiritual and scenic experience. The Valley of Flowers National Park, a UNESCO World Heritage Site, attracts visitors with its vibrant alpine blooms and rare Himalayan flora. Char Dham Yatra, measured in the majestic Himalaya, the Char Dham Yatra stands as Uttarakhand's most revered spiritual journey, blending deep faith and breathtaking natural beauty. In recent years, the Winter Char Dham circuit has gained importance, transforming a traditionally summer pilgrimage into a year-round spiritual journey. The Char Dham, the Char Dham Yatra in Uttarakhand is one of the India's most sacred pilgrimage, drawing lakhs of devotees every year to the Himalayan shrines of Yamunotri, Gangotri, Kedarnath, and Badrinath. Set against breathtaking mountains landscapes at the Yatra represents both deep spiritual faith and an extraordinary journey through nature. The four sacred shrines, Yamunotri, dedicated to the goddess Yamuna, marks the beginning of the pilgrimage surrounded by rock cliffs and thermal springs. It symbolizes purity and devotion. Gangotri, the origin of the holy river Ganga, is devoted to goddess Ganga. Pilgrims visit the temple to offer prayers and seek blessings along the banks of the sacred river. Kedarnath, dedicated to Lord Shiva, stands majestically amid snow-clad mountains. It is one of the 12 Jyotirlingas and holds immense spiritual significance for devotees across the country. Badrinath, dedicated to Lord Vishnu, completes the circuit situated along the Alaknanda River. It is an important Vaishnavite Vaishnavite shrine and a symbol of salvation and spiritual liberation. Hemkund Sahib, a reverend six pilgrimage site located at a high altitude, is also frequently visited by devotees and trekkers. Surrounded by snow-covered peaks and a glacial lake, it offers a serene yet powerful spiritual atmosphere. The Winter Char Dham Circuit. In recent years, the Winter Char Dham Circuit has gained importance, transforming the traditionally summer pilgrimage into a year-round spiritual journey. When the main shrines close during peak winter, the deities are ceremonially shifted to their winter seats. Gangotri's idol is moved to Mukba in the Harashal region, allowing devotees to continue worship in a lower altitude setting. Prime Minister Modi also visited Mukba and offered prayers, highlighting the importance of winter pilgrimage and encouraging year-round tourism in Uttarakhand. India women I crowd batting sure to stay afloat from Hobart. Mukesh draws with Niyaman from Prague. Vinicius Powers real into last 16. Sensational Nabi puts the AK on top against Karnataka from Hooghly. SL search for answers as downward spiral continues. New Zealand can topple England, says coach from Colombo. Proteas blow away by skipper. Mark Crum leads the charge with unbeaten 82 as a win by 9 wickets from Ahmedabad. Punjab launches crucial. Punjab launches crusher honor mining sites to boost sand supply. Crusher honor mining site. A crusher honor mining site is operated by a registered crusher owner on his own land. Lease land or land held through valid power of attorney. Strictly as per the approved mining plan, district survey report and environment clearance. A landowner mining site allows the landowner to undertake mining on eligible land subject to statutory approvals and environmental compliance. Punjab launches crusher owner mining sites to boost sand supply from Chandigarh. Farm outfit places free toll plazas in anti-sack release, no protest from Patiala. UTI Mutual Fund, we are everyone, we are everyone, but we are not just anyone. We choose progress over pressure, invest step by step, not because we are playing it safe, because we are playing the long game. From UTI, Swatantra India Invest Karo. CM on leaves for week-long naturopathy course in Bangalore from Chandigarh. Punjab Chief Minister Bhagwant Mann on Wednesday left for a week-long naturopathy and wellness programs in Bangalore. He is scheduled to return on March 5, a day before the start of the budget session of the Vidhan Sabha. Mann's naturopathy course at a Nature Cure Institute follows his recent hospitalization after he complained of agitation and fatigue. He initially felt unwell while attending a Mahashivratri event in Sangrur alongside Aam Aadmi Party national convener Arvind Kejriwal and was admitted for clinical observation at a private hospital in Mohali. AAP leader Manish Sisodhia visited him to inquire about his health. He was finally discharged on Feb 19. Party sources meanwhile said Man's naturopathy program was for general wellness and not for treating any specific ailments. Earlier ahead of 2017 assembly elections, Man attended a similar naturopathy and wellness program recruit to recuperate from his demanding political schedule. Just like Man's wellness breaks, Kejriwal too takes time off for 10 days Vipassana meditation courses to manage stress and recuperate. He attended such silent retreats, including a session in March 2025 at a center in Hoshiarpur after Delhi Assembly elections. The visit sparked a political controversy with opposition parties alleging that he arrived with a large security and tools of over 20 vehicles. Before that, he had attended a similar program at the same Hoshiarpur Center in December 2023. Meanwhile, Man will return before the budget session, which will commence with the governor's address on March 6. The budget will be presented on March 8 and the government is expected to announce the much hyped rupees 1100 monthly stipend for women in the state, which was a pre-poll promise of the party. SAD Islam's government agreed to reconstitute SIT from Chandigarh. The Shiromani Akali Dal on Thursday slammed the Punjab government's decision to reconstitute the Special Investigation Team, providing probing the case of 388 pushing Sarup Sahib Guru Granth Sahib, alleging a move was triggered after the previous society refused to follow illegal orders to implicate SID President Sukhbir Singh Badal in the case. In Boga, Shah said to pitch for Badla with Punjab on March 14. Punjab helpless to counter gangsters, Ashwini says. Punjab BJP working President Ashwini Sharma said the rally will come with a tagline of मिलजुल के बदलिए पंजाब सुखी रहे साड़ा पंजाब let us usher in a change in Punjab. May Punjab remain prosperous from Chandigarh. Union Home Minister Amit Shah will address the Badlav rally of Punjab BJP in Moga on March 14. RSA to interact with Mandrega workers in Barnala tomorrow from Bathinda. Camera found in Tish girls hostel bathroom from Guwahati. High Court stays release of the Kerala story to goes beyond. Camera found in Tish girls hostel bathroom from Guwahati. Camera concealed inside a pocket was soap packet was discovered in a bathroom of a girls hostel at the Tata Institute of Social Sciences campus in Guwahati Wednesday, triggering a police investigation and protest by students over safety and privacy. We have seized the camera and will send it for forensic examination. We are investigating the matter, DCP Numal Mahata said. A student noticed a suspicious object while using the bathroom and on closer inspection found a concealed camera. News of the discovery spread quickly across the campus, prompting students to demand swift action and accountability from authorities. His administration called the discovery a serious violation of privacy that is entirely unacceptable and condemnable. High Court stage release of the Kerala story to goes beyond Kochi. The Kerala High Court on Thursday granted an interim stay against the release of the film The Kerala Story 2 Goes Beyond, saying that prima facie there is non-application of mind by censor board while certifying the movie. Advocate zero tolerance for terrorist activity. EM urges UN bodies from Geneva. India remains firm and uncompromising in its opposition to terrorism in all its forms. External Affairs Minister S.J. Singh said, asserting there can be no justification, especially when innocent lives are targeted. Confronting terrorism requires collective resolve. Jharkhand Jai Shankar said and asked the United Nations Human Rights Council to advocate zero tolerance for terrorist acts. HPV vax against cervical cancer safe, effective experts from New Delhi. The center's decision to launch the HPV vaccination campaign will be a critical step towards achieving the WHO cervical cancer elimination target, experts said on Thursday, while underscoring the vaccine's safety and efficacy. 4 killed, 25 injured as moves were overturned in Chhattisgarh from Raigad. ED filed prosecution and against P. Chidambam from New Delhi. The Enforcement Directorate Thursday said it wants an expeditious trial against Congress Neta P. Chidambam in two money laundering cases, Air Maxis Deal and INX Media, as it had submitted the required sanction for prosecution against the former Union Finance Minister before a designated court. Shah was cracked down on illegal immigrants, says Bengal, Bihar, and Jharkhand was affected. Patna or area. Union Home Minister Amit Shah described Bengal, Bihar, and Jharkhand as among India's worst affected states in terms of illegal immigration, vying expel infiltrators from Bengal if BJP wins the upcoming state election and free Bihar of undocumented migrants before the next poll. Another such in Sagreb's history, but this time in Bokesia. Youth dies while running in Fazilka. Fazilka, Surrey MLA raises issue about targeting of Sikh leaders from Bathinda. State records dip in consumption of area. DAP government informs NGT from Bathinda. Schools to get tech upgrade says bans from Chandigarh. Punjab to seek review of Supreme Court order on TET. Government stands firmly with teachers. Minister says from Chandigarh amid mounting pressure from teachers over the position of the teacher eligibility test condition on those included before 2011. The Punjab government is also set to seek a review of the Supreme Court order mandating TET qualification for teachers. Responding to a media query on the issue, Education Minister Harjot Singh Bans said the government stands firmly with its teachers and is exploring all legal options. I want to assure every teacher their jobs are secure. No one will lose their job, he said. The minister said he understands the anxiety. He understands the anxiety among experienced teachers who served for 20 to 25 years and confirmed that legal solutions are being explored. He said he remained in constant touch with teacher unions and is examining very possible legal avenue. The issue gained momentum earlier this week when the Democratic Teachers Front Punjab staged a protest at Anandpur Sahib, the assembly constituency represented by the Education Minister. The body stated that the Supreme Court order would affect nearly 40,000 of the approximately 1 lakh teachers working in over 20,000 government schools across the state. It demanded that the Punjab government seek modification of the Supreme Court ruling and ensure relief for teachers awaiting promotion. The front also called for exemption from the state condition for teachers appointed before its introduction and asked the government to clarify its stand at the earliest. The teacher eligibility test was introduced in 2011 under the Right of Children to Free and Compulsory Education Act. Teacher bodies argue that imposing the condition retrospectively on teachers appointed before 2011 is unjustified as those teachers fulfilled the recruitment criteria prevailing at the time of their appointment. They maintain that teachers appointed before 2011 cleared competitive examination or were selected on merit-based standard and that the Education Department never earlier imposed a tax requirements on teachers' recruitment up to 2010. The sudden application of the TET condition at the stage of promotion, citing the Supreme Court judgment, was described by union leaders as unreasonable. The Democratic Teachers Front also alleged that the state government delayed implementation of employees-friendly measures, including equal pay for equal work, application of Punjab pay scales to recruitments made after July 17, 2020, and grant of full pay during probation. In contrast, it claimed the government was quicker to implement decisions perceived as adverse to employees. Modi Carney to charts forward-looking roadmap for bilateral ties. Carney will undertake a four-day visit to India beginning Friday in his first trip to the country as the Canadian Prime Minister. The two Prime Ministers will hold wide-ranging talks Monday. From New Delhi, India on Thursday said the talks between Prime Minister Modi and his Canadian counterpart Mark Carney next week will provide an opportunity to advance a forward-looking partnership between the two nations. Carney will undertake a four-day visit to India beginning Friday in his first visit to the country as the Prime Minister. The visit is largest aimed at imparting a new momentum to the bilateral ties that came under severe strain following a diplomatic row over the killing of the Khalistani separatist in 2023. It is learned that trade, energy, and technology will be the main focus areas of talks between Carney and Modi. The Canadian Prime Minister's first stop will be Mumbai, where he will participate in separate business engagements, interact with top Indian and Canadian corporate leaders, financial experts, and innovators. The Canadian leaders will arrive in New Delhi on Sunday, and the two prime ministers will hold wide-ranging talks on Monday. The Minister of External Affairs said both leaders will review the progress achieved till date across diverse areas of the India-Canada strategic partnership, building on their earlier meeting in Case and Johannesburg in June and November, respectively. They will also take stock of ongoing cooperation in key pillars including trade and investment, energy, critical minerals, agriculture, education, research and innovation, and people-to-people ties. The two leaders will also exchange views on regional and global developments, the MEA said. The two prime ministers will also attend the India-Canada CEO's forum on Monday. The visit comes at an important juncture in normalization of India-Canada bilateral relations, the MEA said. The two prime ministers have agreed to pursue a constructive and balanced partnership grounded in mutual respect for each other, concerns and sensitivities, strong people-to-people ties, and growing economic leaders will provide an opportunity to reaffirm the positive momentum and shared vision of India and Canada in building a forward-looking partnership. It added in a statement. In the last few months, India and Canada have taken several steps to normalize relations. The India-Canada relationship is rock bottom following then Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's allegation in 2023 of a potential Indian link to the killing of Hardeep Singh Nijjar. India had dismissed Trudeau's accusation as absurd. High Court upholds mother's right to give her surname to child. From Bangalore, Karnataka High Court has ruled that inclusion of the mother's family name in a birth certificate of a child does not dilute or extinguish substantial legal rights of any person, including that of the biological father. Anil Ambani appears before ED to report statement from New Delhi. India is trying to hold next round of FTA talks in May. India is Israel's second largest trade partner in Asia. From news from New Delhi. India and Israel will hold the next round of negotiations for the proposed free trade agreement between the two countries in May. The Commerce Ministry said on Thursday the two sides concluded the first round of four-day talks here. Both countries are engaged in discussions covering a wide range of areas, including trade in goods and services, rules of origin, sanitary and physio and phytosanitary measures, technical barrier to trade, customs procedures, intellectual property rights, digital trade, and other key chapters, it said. Both sides also agreed to continue international engagement virtually. The next round of in-person negotiations will be held in May 2026 in Israel, it said. During the two-day state visit to Israel, Prime Minister Narendra Modi, while addressing a special plenary of the Knesset in Jerusalem on February 25, called for early finalization of an ambitious FTA to realize the untapped trade potential between the two countries. Both sides noted the untapped potential in key sectors including machinery, chemicals, textiles, agriculture, medical devices and advanced technologies. In November last year, the two countries signed the terms of reference to formally start the negotiations for the FACT. In such pacts, two sides significantly reduce or eliminate import duties on maximum number of goods traded between them. Besides, they ease norms to promote trade in services and investment. The TOR include markets access for goods by eliminating tariff and non-tariff barriers, investment facilitation, simplification of customs procedure, increasing cooperation for innovation and technology transfer, and easing norms to promote trade in services. India's chief negotiator is Ajay Bhadu, additional secretary in the Department of Commerce, while Israel side is headed by Gifted Alan Varel, Senior Director Trade Policy and Agreement. India and Israel were engaged earlier also to negotiate a similar agreement. 8 rounds were held, but talks stalled later. The last round was held in October 2021. Now both sides have again started the negotiations during 2025-24. Indian exports to Israel dipped 52% to USD 2.14 billion from USD 4.52 billion in 2023-24. Imports too fell 26% to USD 1.48 billion last fiscal year. The bilateral trade stood at USD 3.62 billion. India is Israel's second largest trading partner in Asia. Though bilateral merchandise trade is dominated mainly by diamonds, petroleum products and chemicals, recent years have witnessed an increase in trade in areas such as electronic machinery and high-tech products, communication systems and medical equipment. Anil Ambani appears before ED to record statement news from New Delhi. Modi holds wide-ranging talks with Israeli praise from Jerusalem. Prime Minister Modi tributes to victims of Holocaust from Jerusalem. Prime Minister Modi on Thursday visited Yad Vashem Memorial here and paid tributes to the victims of the Holocaust. He was accompanied by his Israeli counterpart Benjamin Netanyahu. At the start of the visit, the two leaders stood the Hall of Fame, during which Netanyahu showed Modi the names of his wife Sarah's relative who perished in the Holocaust. Following the tour, a memorial ceremony was held in commemorate the victims of the Holocaust, led a breath at Yad Vashem. The word Holocaust Remembrance Center grateful to Prime Minister Netanyahu for accompanying me during this visit, Modi said in the post on X. Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Israeli President Ishaq Herzog on Thursday had extremely fruitful and wide-ranging talks during which they explored avenues to further enhance cooperation in education, startups, innovation, tech, and connectivity. Modi called on Herzog at his official residence where the two leaders first planted an oak tree together in the garden as a symbol of friendship, growth, and the building of a shared future between the two countries. A press release from the presidency said. Our talks were extremely fruitful and wide-ranging, Modi said in a post on X. Both leaders explored avenues to further enhance cooperation in education, startups, innovation, tech, and connectivity. Ministry of External Affairs spokesperson Ranjit Jaiswal said in a post on X during the meeting. Modi thanked Herzog for the welcome and grand reception since he landed in Israel. This shows the love that the people of Israel have towards India and Indians, he said. He also seconded that the India-Israel relationship across sectors can do a lot for the global good, be it science, innovation, or educational institution. We have had very positive exchanges, especially in sectors such as water and agriculture. India is also implementing a lot of good Israeli solutions in our country, especially in the agricultural sector, and we have had great results because of that, Modi said. I have had the chance to meet you on different occasions in other parts of the world. You have been very clear with your thoughts and you are also very committed to India. You respect India a lot. I would like to thank you from the bottom of my heart for your commitment and respect for India you shared. The Prime Minister also extended an innovation to her job to visit India, saying 1.4 billion people of India are eager to receive him. I warmly invite you to visit India, and when you come, don't limit your visit to just Delhi, but take out more time to travel to other parts of India also be shared. On his part, Herzog thanked PM Modi for making a historic second visit to Israel, expressing his deep appreciation for the Indian leaders' long-standing and steadfast support for the state of Israel, as well as the Indian people's deep friendship towards the people of Israel. Another Sachin scripts history, but this time in Bokashia. Another Sachin scripts history, but this time in Bokashia. Terms of 2 rupees MPs to end soon. Poll notification out from Chandigarh, Ambala projects under ACP lens. Minister Goyal says the minister mentioned that to complete the bill, the Bal Bhavan project, a revised estimate was being prepared from Chandigarh. Placement is just 1.1% MLA. Questions Rozgar portal. Kaithal MLA Suchewala said data highlighted the massive gap between registration on the portal and actual jobs provided. Assembly validates the Ramji scheme after Kong walkout. Original proposal altered Kong says from Chandigarh. UK expands visa fraud campaign to Haryana from Rohtak. The UK on Thursday expanded its visa fraud save a change awareness campaign to Haryana. Launched during an event in Sonipat, the campaign aims to protect Indian nationals from the physical, financial, and emotional risk of visa fraud and irregular migration. Haryana Minister of State for Youth Empowerment and Entrepreneurship, Gaurav Gautam, and UK Home Office Permanent Secretary Kapil Kanjum's version meant that his woman died in street attack from Nissan. Democracy of silence when not choosing is a choice. In India, epistemological parlance. Abhya, 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 why? It is a distinct way of examining reality through the lens of non-existence. Take, for instance, the air inside a pot. When the pot is merely a lump of clay, air is inside the pot is absent, but only in a relational sense. Hence, when the Supreme Court recently observed that some mechanism, not necessarily punitive, could be devised to make voting compulsory, it raised a deeper philosophical question. Is abstention not a gentler way to express disapproval? Abstention is a form of censor that can speak louder than words. Take, for example, an elephant in the room. It's absent, yet it is not. It cannot be ignored. The dictionary meaning of the word abstention is the fact of not voting in favor or against someone or something. Hence, like abhaya, abhava. Abstention is not mere absence from voting. It could be many things. A silent critique of available choices, a protest of against binaries, or even a philosophical refusal to reduce one's conscience to pressing button. The act of choosing is inherently dualistic. Civic agency must be expressed through a preference for one option over another. For a Sagain Brahman Samadhi, this may appear futile, for he knows that there is no two, and therefore no choice is to be made. The ultimate truth includes play of opposites, yet one who chooses the divine rises above Dvaitva, the realm of duality. Such a person, Gita says, is a Sthita Prajna, even minded in victory and defeat, joy and sorrow, love and hate, trust and disgust. For the spiritual inclined, voting may thus cause a dualistic proposition. It could be examined whether participation in structured dualism compromises a non-dual or orientation or in abstention, a way of remaining equanimous. For many young citizens, political binaries may feel outdated, too simplistic to capture the complexity of their concern. Some Atman recently suggested that young people should not automatically defer to older generation as the pace of technological change and AI are blurring boundaries in economic and informational spaces. Old maps no longer match the terrain. Yet the dominant political narrative in India is rife with hyper-nationalism, marked by exaggerated patriotism, aggressive assertion of religious identity, and hostility towards perceived others. In this framework, abstention, like the epistemological concept of abhava, is meaningful national relational absence nations run on engines of competing nationalism that must travel patriotism or fuel. The truth is that spirit of conflict and conquest is at the origin and its center of Western nationalism. Its basis is not social cooperation, says Rabindranath Tagore. Jacques Derrida, a French philosopher, took upon himself the task of deconstruction the nation itself. The nation is not an eternal essence, it is a narrative, a story told about common language, memory, and destiny. Jürgen Habermas wrote the post-national consideration, suggesting a world where democracy and equality must adapt to global interdependence, moving beyond the limits of exclusive national identity. Abhava is not a barren void but a meaningful absence, a shift in relational form when play becomes a part, its configuration, function, and field of relation within which it exists change in much the same way post-nationalism does not signal the demise of sovereign nation. It gestures towards the need for transformation. It calls for a recalibrated responses to certain crises that exceed the moral and geographical limits of the nation side. Jeffrey and me more big names are linked to FC, the real of suspicion moves closer home. Knock, knock, who's fluent. Teenagers are naturally attracted to foreign culture and thus languages encourage this. Policy is all over well, but what about pleasure? It gets little mention in politically charged, shouting message about the centers, the three language policy or its hated two language rebuttals. IT all goes back to Columbus. In Megas book, Western civilization had no discontents if only Europe and if only Europe would agree. ITIE India Israel ties have moved beyond business. As they say in Hebrew, Sababa, that's great. There isn't a better word to describe India Israel relationship than the Hebrew Fargun. Genuine pride in the accomplishments of another, and Modi's second visit has only strengthened it like the sycamores of Tel Aviv. You can pour over MOUs and deals to grass price, or pay heed to chants of Modi in Knesset. Netanyahu's recollection of his first or second data, just and second date with his wife at an Indian restaurant, the Modi telling Israel lawmakers he was born the day India recognized Israel in 1950. Clearly, this bilateral relationship had progressed beyond business to bonhomie and how sycamore like its growth has been between 2014 when India really started warming to Israel, and now both sides have come to trust each other deeply. India is now Israel's second biggest trade partner in Asia after China. Bilateral trade had zoomed to $10.8 billion in 2023 before trouble in Red Sea made moments of good difficult. India is also Israel's strong arms fire and its strongest ally in the East. Netanyahu is keen on involving India in a new hexagonal alliance against radical adversary. There is also the old Biden era 1 to U2 grouping of India, Israel, US, and UAE for containing China in West Asia. The first time Modi visited Israel in 2015, Netanyahu had spelled out his idea of bilateral ties as a mathematical question. IT into IT into IT is equal to I square to square tackles. Hebrew for to the point Indian talent combined with Israeli tech would define India-Israel future ties. That's happening already. Mutual cooperation extends from agriculture to water treatment, education, and space technology. But AI, cybersecurity, and defense are major focus areas. Although Israel is a small country, it ranks fourth out of 139 countries on the Global Innovation Index, which isn't surprising because it spends over 6% of GDP on R&D as against only 0.7% in India. It has chip-making factories and an impressive record in defense production. So as India and Israel deepen their engagement, what do they seek from each other? For Israel, India is invaluable as a vast market and a friendly power. India would want greater access to defense tech, such as the Iron Dome missile shield. Israel's Army 900 drones are already made in India, but given the increasing importance of UAVs in war, it would want more advanced know-how too. The good news is that Israel seems happy to share its tech, although US approvals are needed in some cases. But for the relationship intent is what matters most. Sababa, that's great. I'm not to judge or not to judge. The film raises the question, should we separate the artist from the art? Should we really let artists tarnish personal records to disqualify their achievements? Hamnet, directed by Jolly Joe, is a strong contender at this year's Oscars. It is a heart-wrenching fiction about Shakespeare and his wife, Agnes or Annie, and the event that allegedly inspired the play Hamlet. The loss of their only son, Hamlet, at the age of 11, Agnes never forgives her husband for being absent at their child's death. Years later, she attends a performance of Hamlet and realizes that he has translated his grief over a dead child into the grief of a banished prince for a dead father. Does any of this hold up in the cold light of historical truth? And if so, does it matter? The documented facts are these. In 1582, Shakespeare, aged 18, married Anne Hathaway, aged 26. In 1583, Anne gave birth to a daughter, Susanna. 2 years later, the twins Judith and Hamlet were born. 2 years later, twins Judith and Hamlet was born, named after neighboring friends. The next trace we have of Shakespeare stems from 1592 when a rival playwright published a sneering attack on upstart crowd, who was making a name for himself in London. In 1596, Hamlet died of up, Hamlet died of unspecified causes. Nothing is known about the emotional ties that shaped Shakespeare's life. The sonnets depict a love triangle between the poet, a young man, and a dark lady, but generations of scholars have been unable to identify whom they correspond to. The affair may have taken place entirely in the poet's mind, and is explicitly mentioned only once in Shakespeare's will, in which he brings his second best back to her. The rest is speculation. Harry A. reinvents Shakespeare in their own image. Based on a novel to Maggie O'Farrell, the film recreates the shadowy figures of Shakespeare's wife as a free-spirited proto-feminist. Hamlet lets Shakespeare off lightly. He might be an absent father, but redeems himself through his art. But the film raises a far broader question: what is the relationship between the life and the work? Can art be reduced to biography? In the case of Shakespeare, reading art as a mirror of the artist's life fuels the ever smoldering Shakespeare authorship controversy. Since the mid 19th century, legions of enthusiasts have set out to prove that the plays cannot have been written by a glowmaker's son. Known from such a humble background, they argue could have penned works that revealed such a wealth of knowledge about classical literature or politics, law, or foreign countries. Alternative candidates are Sir Francis Bacon, philosopher and statesman, and Edward de Vere, Earl of Oxford, poet and patron of the arts. Ample documentary evidence attests to the authorship of Shakespeare in our age of conspiracy theories. However, the debate had gained fresh momentum. Even people who don't know a line from Shakespeare apart from to be or not to be flaunt their insider wisdom and proclaim that Shakespeare wasn't Shakespeare. Our fascination with hidden lives of the famous is not a recent development. Over the years, lurid details about the moral failings of the thinkers, writers, and magicians have emerged. We are now all too familiar with Kant's racism and the outlandish experiments of Mahatma Gandhi, while Hemingway and Norman Mailer, Miles Davis, and Michael Jackson have been exposed as despicable individuals. Needless to say, even outstanding personalities should be accountable to justice for any crimes they commit. But to what extent does their tarnished personal record disqualify their achievements, or do we need to distinguish between the person and their work, the artist and the art? Moral outrage about the repellent behavior of celebrated artists has reached a frenzied pitch in the era of social media, where the boundaries between private and public have collapsed. One of the latest casualties of Picasso today, his work is discussed mainly in terms of misogyny and cultural appropriation. Female artists who have come in for their share of vitriol. Johnny Mitchell and Doris Lessing are castigated for abandoning their children. Virginia Woolf for her anti-Semitism. What we overlook is that we too are flawed, fragmented, and contradictory beings. The lives of the famous are sordid secrets in the same way as to our own. While we live in a world in which the rich and the powerful operate with impunity, the demand for moral purity has established this train all over the earth. Dead or alive, artists are expected to conform to a high moral standard and promote worthy sentiments. The art is equated with the artist, but art works are much more than a sublimated version of the artist's biography. And rather than confirming our opinion, powerful art unsettles us by evoking deeply ambivalent emotion and accordingly captures the conflicts and moral complexities of being human. This is why art from the past still speaks to us. The death, the death of Hamlet may or may not have inspired Hamlet. The play is, however, immeasurably richer than a peer journal. It was wrestles with that moral dilemmas, guilt and resentment, the desire to break free from family bonds and nostalgia of lost Eden. Remember me, the ghost urges what he demands is not remembrance, but revenge, self-deluded and fostering through. Hamlet might be, he resists to the extent possible. Once he embarks on a spree of violence, like all revengers, his actions become increasingly mobile. Set in a surveillance state in which corruption and betrayal are rampant, the play depicts a disintegrating moral order, a word without a clear answer. It is a play for our lives. The writer is former professor English literature, University of Fribourg, Switzerland. UK expands with a broad campaign to Haryana from Rohtak. MLA Sundar Thakur announced 8 crore rupees aid for Akhada Bazaar from Kulu. Madhya Pradesh Tourism Department aims to boost solo women travel from 18% to 35% by 2028 from Kulu 5,000 women tracking guides. Unjustifiable High Court's long Madhya Pradesh over PMJ care dues within a month. News from Shimla. Democrats respect food choices. VP Radhakrishnan tells Kashmir Varsity from Srinagar. Vice President CP Radhakrishnan on Thursday called for respecting sentiments related to people's food choices, highlighting the hallmark of a true democracy. When Ek Bharat, Shresth Bharat program was introduced, I was governor of Jharkhand. A big team of students from JNK had come to Ranchi. I asked our people, Rajbhavan staff to serve non-vegetarian food to them, as I know most of them are non-vegetarian. Though I am vegetarian, Radhakrishnan told University of Kashmir 21st convocation in Srinagar. The Vice President recalled in Jharkhand sting to buttress the need to accept others' sentiments. I am telling you, we are Democrats. We have to accept the sentiments. We can be proud of our sentiments. No problem in that. That doesn't mean we should degrade the sentiment of others. That is not good, and no Democrat will do that. Radhakrishnan said, drawing huge applause from the audience comprising students, academics, and as officials. The Vice President's remarks come against attempts in some states to false culinary codes on peoples with bans on sales of meat and other non-veg fare. He hailed the Prime Minister's special scholarship scheme that provides $5,000 annually to students of J&K to pursue undergraduate courses in other states. I thank all my listeners, learners, brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen, students, scholars, teacher, trainers, professor, professionals, officer, official. Thank all respected Dr. Jan Director. I thank all Honorable Minister Jan Manager. I thank all Honorable Advocates, President, Mr. Advisor. I thank the most honorable Prime Minister Modi ji. Thank you very much. Nice to see all of you. Thank you.